I figured it out. What's up, folks? I'm back. Remember, we good now, right? Okay. All right, man. I can't hear you yet because you're still backstage, but I'm going to bring you up in 1 second, man. I can see you give me a thumbs up, cool. All right, my man. All right. Hey, early morning for one. Completely forgot about the time going forward. Number two, like I said a few minutes ago, I was having some technical difficulties. For some reason, my screen that I had on Instagram, it didn't connect. So we're streaming live today from YouTube and Facebook only. I'll go back and chop the video up and put it on Instagram. Hey, so yeah, man, we back. And I'm excited to have this conversation today with my buddy, one of my good friends, Tim. We're going to dive into, what are we talking about today? We're going to talk about imposter syndrome. Today's show is imposters. So I wanted to have this conversation, man, because I'm in a space in my life now where I'm really having a nice little battle with imposter syndrome right now. A lot of great things going on, especially in the space of youth development and the progress of my nonprofit. So yeah, I'm feeling like a lot of these things, man, my confidence is there. I have the faith, but it's something that's not letting me buy into it all the way yet. So a couple years ago, man. When I first started talking about a few things that I wanted to do and some of the avenues I wanted to explore. And I remember him mentioning to me that he dealt with that a little bit. So I feel like it'd be a dope way to have get some not only for myself but for others to gain insight on, how to maneuver with this thing. And but it'll never get any easier. You know what I mean? So Sam, I'm about to bring you on in 1 second. Here we go, big dog. Music's going off too. Don't worry. Give me a second, Sam. It's off now. And it's off. What's up, bud?
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, it was interesting listening to the elevator music with you talking there.
I try to. It's early morning. I try to give it a Sunday vibe. Hopefully, the music isn't too loud.
No, I like it, man. I like it.
How you doing, bro?
Doing good, man. Just Sunday morning and daylight savings time. So this is really 7:30.
Hey, man, I'm surprised you're home, bro. You always on the move, man. How was your last trip?
No, it was good. It was good. I try to, get more balance these days and really take the weekends off.
I can dig it. How's everything, bro? How's the fam? How's business? How's life?
Oh man, good. I don't know if it's going through your house, but man, there's some like nasty flu stomach thing going on. So it's been running through my entire family. I've been the only one that's been spared so far. So I'm just hoping that I don't get it,
Hey, bro, I'm gonna tell you like this. I just had that battle. I'm just coming off that battle like Friday, bro. Like, so it ran through the house the same way. It came in with my toddler, ran through the family. My wife was in the hospital last Sunday for it. And man, hey, thank goodness you didn't get it, bro. Stay clear, because hey, that's one that I haven't felt anything like that in a minute, man. From the it was norovirus, so everything from the stomach symptoms to the flu symptoms with the body aches. That's something different, bro. I've had Go ahead, my bad. Go ahead, bro.
No. I was gonna say, yeah, my wife is she's pretty strong. I'm usually the one that gets the man flu, and she has been laid up. She had to take off work, and she never takes off work, so it's bad. I'm just like, stay away from me because I do not want to get
that. How's everything going out there? So I hope you guys get better really quick, man. I hope you avoid it, man. How's everything in business, bro? How we doing? How you looking?
Good, man. Good. Busy. I was up there yesterday. Things are humming along, and I'm going up to play today. So
you want to play?
Yeah, man. We're rolling out this new format of, it's kind of like a mini tournament, and it's a little bit different than what folks normally do with different scoring. It's a team-based format. So we ran 2 of them already, and I wanted to experience it for myself because I had one of my instructors run it. So I always like to go and see in firsthand how the programming is whenever we roll something new out, because you get a different perspective when you're a participant versus the one hosting it.
I don't know what happened. We went out for like a hot 30 seconds.
Oh man, are we back?
Yeah, we back now. I didn't hear, but you said you were explaining the tournament.
Yeah. So we're rolling out a new program up at the facility. It's team based, different kind of scoring, and we've held 2 of these events already. It's called MLP. So there's a league called the Major League Pickleball.
I'm going to ask that.
Leagues, and they have a completely different format than your traditional scoring formats. So we've gotten really good feedback from it, but I wanted to go and experience it myself. We've had one of our instructors run it for the last two occurrences. So I want to go up and experience it. It's different being a participant than being the one hosting it,
Oh man, that's dope, bro. That's dope. Tell me a little bit, like, bro, how does pickleball? Because I've seen it and overheard it explained, passing through the gym classes and watching the kids have fun with it. It's a mixture of badminton, tennis, and like ping pong.
Yeah, that's what people pretty much chalk it up to. It's a mix between ping pong and tennis. So you're playing with a hard ball. It's almost like a wiffle ball.
Okay.
You're using a paddle instead of a racket, so it's more of an oversized ping pong paddle. And then you're playing on a short tennis court. But the strategies are a little bit different. We see a lot of tennis players transition to the sport, and They have all the mechanics down from the swing,
Uh,
but it's a different strategy overall. It's a lot more finesse and a lot less force.
oh, I got you. I got you. I'm gonna get out there, man. I'm gonna try to get my kids up there too, try for a field trip. So,
Oh, they
yeah,
would love it. They would
they
love
would
it.
love it.
Yeah.
Man, the facility looks dope though, bro. I got to get up there. You guys are located where?
We're in Millersville, so we're right off of the Benfield Boulevard exit off 97, 254 Najoles Road.
My man, my man. Get some people, some folks your way. We'll get your way. Hopefully by the summer, man. I've been trying to get my kids up there.
Yeah,
So,
summer would be great. Summer will be great. You know, what we experienced a little bit last year, some seasonality where folks are going away on vacation. So we should have some more availability. This winter, we've been slammed. We've really, the courts have been filled, which has been great. But it's hard to get people in there that aren't members just because our members are using the court. So summer will be good, man.
How many members do you guys have?
We have a little over 300 members right now, but we've seen a lot of people through the facility. We've been open now for, going on 7 months, and we've had over 4,000 people through the facility. So we get had a lot of people through the Thanksgiving and winter breaks coming in with their families, people visiting from out of town. We've had a couple tournaments where folks have come in from out of town. So it's been pretty cool, man. It's cool to meet so many people. When you're working and family, you don't get out much, and it's like I didn't realize I just didn't meet that many people in the community, and it's so cool to meet people in our community, and there's a lot of similar entrepreneurs with small businesses. I mean, it's just so cool to learn about what everyone's into.
Yeah. Hey man, that's dope, bro. Proud of you, dog. That's big stuff. That's big moves right there, man.
Man.
No doubt. I figured you. Well, before you went into pickleball, what were you doing before that?
So before that, I was running cannabis testing labs. So I got, we met in pharmacy way back in the day, right?
Yeah. Facts. It don't feel like it, but it was way back there, bro.
How many years? Hold on, I was trying to think before this podcast started. How many years ago that was? That was
I would say like roughly it was over 15, like over 17 probably, bro. It's been a minute. I was working up there when we met, and it had to have been in my early 20s.
That's what I feel like. I was in my early 20s. What are you? Are you 85?
I was 82.
82. Okay, so I was in I guess I was in my mid 20s. Yeah, so that had to be 15 years ago or so.
Yeah, bro. So it's time has flown, and we met. But that's the one thing about farmers that I appreciated, bro. I met so many dope people, man. That's why I have relationships today. You know what I mean? With today, and it's I think the dope part about it it's genuine, it's organic, and coming from how my perception early on in life was some of the the environment I grew up in. It was pretty boxed, but now moving up to Montgomery County and then getting the pharmacy, bro, it gave me a huge opportunity to interact and with different folks I would have normally had gotten a chance to. I'm glad because I would have been missing out, bro. It's some dope people out here.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I feel the same way about this whole pickleball venture, and even I think anytime you move out of where you are, it opens your eyes up to different people, different things, different cultures.
Yeah. What do you miss more? Do you miss the cannabis industry and the lab industry?
No, not really, man. I think it served its purpose for me. I learned a lot. I wouldn't, I think the lessons I learned were the most valuable parts of it, but I don't miss that industry, man. It's a dirty industry.
I've been hearing, bro. That industry is it ain't the it's not the vacation people thought it would be. It's not the it's not the getaway, a paradise.
No, man. It's yeah. I froze up a second, but yeah, I mean that's a good segue into the podcast, man, because that's really where I really got those first feelings of being an imposter, is going into that cannabis industry, because I graduated from pharmacy school and and obviously I was a pharmacist, and there's like, you know, when you're a pharmacist, you're a pharmacist. There's no, you go through 4 years of school, you do all the studying, you pass your NAPLEX, um, and you're a pharmacist, like you have that certification. So I think that gives you confidence going in, along with all of the school and all of our experience working in pharmacy.
Yeah.
I didn't really have that imposter syndrome, you know. I had been in the industry for so long, but when I made that switch
Yeah.
to cannabis, it was a new industry. I really had no idea what the hell I was doing, you know. So that's a part of it. Like when you're talking about doing your nonprofit and doing your coaching stuff, like I think anytime you enter into anything new, you have no idea what the hell you're doing,
Yeah.
right? Like there's
Facts.
no there's no
Facts.
template, especially in a new industry like cannabis, pickleball's kind of new.
Yeah.
Like there's no blueprint. There's no roadmap, there's no instruction manual. You're just figuring it out as you go. So
Yeah.
um, you know, that's I think certainly added to that feeling of being an imposter is I was young.
Yeah.
I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And when I started going to all these like social meetings, and I look around, I'm like, man, no one around here looks like me. You know?
Yeah, bro, right.
It's like the cannabis has traditionally been dominated by you know, Caucasian people, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, there's like, and they're all, at least the ones that won licenses in Maryland, were all really well established, very successful, and I'm just like, you know, I'm just like new kid on the block trying to
Yeah.
trying to get their business right, and
Yeah.
trying to speak intelligently about an industry that I have really don't know much about. But that's, thinking back on it now, like that's the essence of entrepreneurialism, right? It's
Yeah.
having the courage to enter into the unknown, right?
Yeah.
And doing something new, and then being confident that you'll be able to figure it out. And
Yeah.
so that's that whole cannabis experience is really what gave me the courage and the confidence to try something new with pickleball, because obviously I'd never really even played before, and never ran a pickleball facility, but you know, you figure it out. You jump in and you figure it out.
So what was the jump, bro? Like, what's the transition from cannabis lab industry to pickleball?
I'll tell you what happened is I exited from my company,
Oh, what's
and I had finally had time on my hands, and I'm like, you know, I had spent the previous, what, 5 years just completely ingrained in the cannabis industry. Like I did nothing but work.
okay?
So I didn't have any hobbies. I hadn't like made any outside of the cannabis industry. I wasn't like making relationships out of work. And I had all this time on my hands. I'm like, what the hell do I do with myself, man? And one of my neighbors, uh, he invited me to play in this local pickleball league, and I was like, you know what, let's do it. You know, I thought, like most people, that pickleball was for old people, and you know, I just joined it because I had time finally,
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
and I
That's
loved it.
good.
I played it. I played it, and I loved it, man. And it was the more I played it, the more I started seeing some of those unique characteristics that make it, I think, a good business model. You know, it's a social sport. Anyone can play it. It's like one of those simple things that feels so simple, but
Yeah.
it's really it's difficult, and it has a lot of strategy, and it has a lot of nuances. And I think people get hooked on those types of things where something that looks easy
Mhm.
isn't, and then
Yeah.
they want to get better at it, man. And man, everyone that comes to the facility, they just want to get better because they see good players and they make it look easy, and you're like, I feel like I should be able to do that.
Man, what's the age? What's the age range of the club members?
Oh man, it's all over the place. I'll give you one of my favorite kind of anecdotes. When I first opened the place, I was playing. Pickleball is usually played in doubles. Tennis, you know, you see those high level tennis players, they're playing singles, but pickleball is usually played in doubles. So
Okay.
I was partners with an 80-year-old guy, and we were playing against two probably mid 20 women. And we just had awesome games. And I'm at the end of the game, I'm like, what kind of sport can you get those kind of demographics in a game and
Yeah.
have really tight, competitive, fun games where you're just like, all right, let's play one more. Let's play one more. You know, they're whether you win or you lose, the games are tight and it's so competitive that you want to play more. And I was like, wow, this is something. There's something here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I got you, man. That's dope, bro. That's that. I'm happy for you, man. I remember, I can still remember the stages when you were talking about, hey, man, I'm going to start a pickleball club. I'm not sure how it's going to go, and then it goes to construction. Hey, bro, the construction's looking great and things like that. So the build out was looking great and things like that. So it was just like, man, I'm happy to see you are where you are with this thing, bro. And so one of the things, I think that's why when you mentioned that you were dealing with imposter syndrome a few years ago, it's shocking because you've always seemed pretty confident in space, especially in pharmacy and things like that. Reading, knowing a little bit about imposter syndrome, um, it's more like a psychological pattern of thinking, right? Where of insecurities and how you feel about yourself and thinking it's all about luck or timing, right? But it said that studies showing that it stems back to sometimes childhood feelings of inadequacies and things like that. I know you said that in pharmacy you were cool, and on your pathway to get your PharmD, did you have prior to that? Did you have any like any major dealing with insecurities, or you always been a pretty confident guy?
No. I think what you see on the outside isn't necessarily what's going on the inside. You know, it's I think that's a really great point because thinking about it growing up, I felt the very same way that I did when I walked into those cannabis social meetings, right? Like growing up, I was adopted and I grew up in a very rural part of Maryland, Harford County. Like,
Whoa, bro.
yeah, they back when I was growing up, like people were
Yeah.
still, and I don't know if they still do. I don't go back up there very often, but people still fly Confederate flags up there.
All day. Yes.
So I growing up, I always stuck out, man. There was very little diversity in Harford County, and I don't think I realized it until I got a little bit older. But I was always the minority for sure in
Yeah.
Harford County. Like I was always surrounded, and thankfully I always had a really good core group of friends that supported me. But I don't think that feeling goes away when you look around, especially as a young kid, and you're like, no one around here looks like me.
Yeah.
Even my parents. It's
Yeah.
I think it even subconsciously, probably more subconsciously than consciously, you know, it affects you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Uh, you were adopted, man. I think we talked about. I think you told me that when we first met, but I didn't not really know the detail. I never really like. I know that's a sensitive area for folks. I never really like unless you volunteer information. I never really like dug into it. But I have a buddy of mine, a close friend, my daughter's godfather, and he was adopted. And talking about some of the things that he dealt with mentally, man, as a kid, man, that's some major things. And uh, as a kid, bro, how did you get through like the mental obstacles that came with that and the adversity?
Yeah, you know what? I don't think the whole being adopted part really affected me, and I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure I even realized it until I got older. When people start people start calling out how you look different, right? Like that's when
Yeah,
you're a kid, that's the first thing people see and the first thing people poke at, right? And then you're like, oh, I am different from everyone else. I didn't even realize this. Like you don't even think about that when I think when you're the minority, right? You're just like, all
yeah,
right, everything's different.
yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I think it's hard to say really psychologically how that impacted me.
Okay. I mean, that's a good thing because it in a way of that means you had great support. You had a
Oh, I
great
did.
family, and that's the part where even with him, with my buddies expressing, it's not all negative. The majority of it is positive.
Oh,
He did
sure.
have, he did have a few questions and things like that, but the overall blessing of it was you found someone. He had someone to love him and give him the love of a parent. So although he felt a void, it wasn't as big as it could have been. You know what I mean? So that's the part, man, that comes into play for me. It's because it's not that I wasn't adopted. I like physically by my parents, but my mother was pretty much adopted as an adult. So that my entire family that I have, I love to death. You know what I'm saying? And up until I got older, I never thought about it like, oh, wait, we're not blood. But the value, I think there's more value in that, man, when you see that there isn't a blood connection, but there's a love stronger than what you see from the even average blood collection. You know what I'm saying? From the blood relatives and things like that.
Sure.
So it's I think that's one of the dopest things that I've seen, and that's why I'm so big on community, bro. Because with community, like if we do it right, then you kind of catch each other and you catch each other's family and things like that. So I think that's dope, bro. So once you got like childhood, what was that about?
That's a cool parallel. That's a cool parallel, man. I like that. I like that a lot.
That was on the top.
No, you know what? I never even thought about it like that. That is true. That parallel between kind of being adopted and the love bond that's created outside of being a blood relative in the community like that. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, it shows the power of love. You know what I mean? It shows how simple things is. And that we make things complicated sometimes as a human being species today. So I think that, so going through that, man, like childhood, how was that like? Was you the typical wild
oh man, I don't know. I think about this a lot. It's like, when you look at your life, I don't know that anything seems like too extreme because it's your life. Like, that's all you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like most people, it's never perfect, but it's good. It could always be worse. It could always be better. It's like, I think about a lot of times there's only two people in life who have it the best and have it the worst. And then everyone else, we're just somewhere in between,
That sounds like some Gary Vee wisdom, dog, right there. That was bars for you.
No, man. I mean, I think me as a person, growing up, I was very critical, and I've always been very critical of myself, and others, especially like the ones closest to me. And then now being a parent, I'm like, oh wow, this ain't easy.
No, and then you have two boys, right?
Yeah, two boys, 10 and 8.
Whew, they're at that age too. They're active.
Man, I was thinking about this morning. It's like, it doesn't get easy. Everyone's like, does it get easier when they're older? We have some friends with kind of young kids still, and it's like, I don't think so. I think it's just
a little worse.
I almost think it is, man. I really do. I really do. It's a lot harder because when they're babies, there's no communication, right? So some of the things that we get upset with now, we didn't get upset with when they were babies, because you're like, all right, he can't understand me, I can't understand him. This is to be expected. Now it's like, dude, you understand what I'm saying? And this is something we do every day, and you're like, you still can't pick up your clothes.
This got to be on purpose. This is personal. Hey, bro, you don't like me or something? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I was like, are you messing with me? Like every morning, eat your breakfast, put your shoes on, get your backpack ready, and it's like, oh man, the morning routine is brutal.
You find yourself sounding like your parents. Like, hey, what's one of my favorite lines I always say, man? Like that. This is the definition of craziness, dog. Like doing it over and over and over again. What we got going on here? It's humbling too. You know what I mean? To be in a space now where you probably didn't even realize you got to until you had to say it, because now you're, as a kid, like you said, you pretty much had. We were good. We were kids, so we didn't like the things that we were doing then were pretty wild, but it was pretty normal. They were wild, but they were normal to us, right? But then you get into a space of parenting when now you're talking like you may have never been corrected on these things, but now you're teaching your kids the dangers and the awareness of some of the situations that you've seen. And it's as a man, for me, bro, like it's surreal, and it feels good because I've never like my dad was, he wasn't like gone, but he wasn't around often, right? So when it got into a space of that's been a dream of mine to be a parent and be a dad. And one of the things that I've learned, man, that I had my first kid when I was 19. You know what I mean? And even with I had the knowledge that I had for that age, and I had the awareness that I had for that age, but you're just getting started out in life in that space.
Yeah, man.
So learning the things that I've learned now and how I parent today, bro, I wish I would have done things so much differently, especially with my girls, right? Because I think that in that space where when I was younger, I was coming from a place of, okay, let me do what I can do as far as let me just go ahead and provide, and let me just make sure that I hold down this piece of discipline. But what that did early was, all right, I would leave work to go if my kid's mom called me and was something going on, I would leave work to go take care of the situation, never realizing what that did and the perception it gave my kids. It gave my kids the perception of, uh, I get in trouble. If I see him, I get in trouble. If my dad has to come here from work, and I'm going to get in trouble. So as a kid, psychologically, you're relating that to that, right? But then you don't have the knowledge and you don't have the patience. I did a pretty good job with my kids, growing up when we were pretty much growing up together. But I think that, man, I think the way I feel now, and it's probably I enjoy being a dad now. I didn't like it so much at first.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's because I didn't know. And I knew I wanted to have a family young, but I didn't know. I didn't know what came with this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So
Well, and you were
it,
so young. You were so young too. I mean, I don't think at 19 you're most people aren't ready to be responsible for another life, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And you got this fantasy in your head when you're young of how life is or what you think life is, but then you start to find out what it actually is. And you're just like, well, I should have waited because it's so many factors that played into that part. And one of the influence you have as a parent. Your parenting style determine the influence that you have on your kids in their life. Because if you're coming off as an aggressor and you're over strict and you have these boundaries, bro, they want to push you back. But if you find out that fine line with parenting, coaching, being a disciplinarian, talking to teacher and things like that, when you walk that balance, bro, you start to see like, man, like, uh, this is why it's important to wait. Number one, this is why it's important to not have kids out of wedlock. Number two, because you can't naturally the influence is harder when you have someone kids outside of the house. It's
Mhm.
obvious. They're two different places, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I still all that to say, man, like when like just having, now just thinking about it, the imposter syndrome I had with being a dad for years, I don't have it anymore. And I think a lot of that with the imposter syndrome that came with that is not, I don't think we talk about that at all as men, right? As far as like feeling like we're inadequate as fathers, inadequate as leaders, inadequate as husbands, things like that. So some of the time when we hear these things echoed out loud and we hear the opinions of other people, we naturally hold it within ourselves. So we hear a lot of the talk sometimes where people say men don't open up. Why would we open up into this environment when we know it's going to shred us apart? It may not do it in front of our face, but they're going to tear us up behind our back. So I think that's the important piece of understanding for men and for us, bro, is that now we have this. Women do a good job of voicing how they feel, right? I think
Yeah.
a lot of times men feel similarly, but we feel we're too embarrassed to relate to it in that space because we're the man, we're the leader, we're the dad. We have to show example by example and things like that. Bro, like, have you struggled ever in a space of imposter syndrome, of kind of being a dad?
Um, you know, not necessarily that,
Mm,
because I think your situation, my situation, a little bit different. Because and
yes.
we didn't have. I mean, I guess I had kids when I was what 20. I had met our first one when I was 28, so I was in a much
Yeah.
more like mature place.
Hmm.
I was ready. I always wanted to be a dad, so I was ready. I was ready for that. It wasn't a surprise. Um, and having a partner
Hmm.
helps. Like even with my wife being out sick for the last 2 days, I'm like, holy shit, how do single parents do this?
It's a work, bro. It's work.
So I don't think I ever had it as an imposter syndrome as a dad. What I get as a father is just trying to balance everything. And I think about this a lot too. And I don't know if you ever think about this. It's like, if you create a better life for your kids than your parents did for you, will they carry that on, or is there this kind of like waxing and waning through generations where you need to experience a little bit of trauma, a little bit of trial and tribulation that then makes you be a better parent, right? So I'm anxious and excited to see, how everything plays out as for us being parents. I mean, you're never going to be perfect. Like all the flaws we found in our parents,
Yeah.
we may correct, but then our kids are going to find something else,
Yes.
and hopefully they'll try to correct that, and then they'll have the flaws that we didn't have.
Exactly, man. It's like we're evolving in relationships. So we like you said, is the goal is to make the next generation better than the last, and it's, so I think that I think I can see that. I can see how you feel with that in that space. I can see how the excitement, you kind of have is kind of leading to worry a little bit, but it's the worries are different because it comes to where the worries you have is like, am I doing too much? Am I not letting them feel enough? Right. So how do you walk that fine line? Like, is there a way, or do you have a method yet of testing your kids, or purposely holding out on things just to make just when you could do it, just kind of to make them feel a little burned every now and then? Have you tried that yet?
No, you know what? No, I thought about it. I think about it a lot too. Is like, what is that fine line? What is that fine line? Because I feel like a lot of the quote unquote trauma and struggles that I went through growing up, I think that helped make me who I am today, right? It helped make me more resilient, and it helped make me want to face challenges and be familiar with facing challenges. So I think about it, and then I don't know how to create that kind of environment for them in a controlled way, right? Where
Yeah.
you can introduce them to a little bit of trauma, but then tell them after the fact that, I did that on purpose. And then for them to actually like believe you, right?
Yeah.
I've thought about this a lot. It's like, do I expose them a little bit of trauma and then like send them an email dated today and let them know so they know I wasn't BSing? But I think they're just, it's too much. I think they're going to go through their own stuff. And as long as they have a good foundation and know that they're supported, hopefully that'll lead them to be strong, confident, and want to take care of other people and be good hearted, all those good things.
Not facts. That's funny. It's funny you said that, because I agree. Right now, today, I don't. Some of the things I feel like when I'm sitting back, I cringe at some parenting styles these days, especially in sports, right? Because especially in the classroom, in the school environment, man, because I see where we're killing kids' love or interest for something every day, and just off of what we've experienced. And so I've had a hard time navigating my trauma and not letting it impact what I allow my kids to do. So as you can imagine, like getting molested and from those places, it kind of gives you a insecurity. I'm not letting my kids go anywhere. I know how fast this stuff can happen. You understand what I'm saying? So it was more like a phobia. It wasn't a fear. It was more like a phobia of having, all right, bro, like, let me just make sure, let me stop over analyzing everything within reason. Because some of the things that I prepare them for, they may not have even encountered. So even when it goes to stuff like, when I look back on my life and I look back how much people.
You still there?
Back? We good?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that I lost my train of thought for a second.
No,
Okay.
You're saying when you look back on your life.
Yeah. Hey, bro. When I look back and I think about some of the things that I felt confident in growing up, that some of the older people had no idea was coming down the pipe. My argument has always been, even when I was pursuing my PharmD, right, and trying to get that, when I was doing my undergrad, my prerequisites, I've always had in the back of my mind, like, bro, it's not the end all be all. Because I've always looked at the risk factor as well. I've always been I have always had kind of been financially sound and had a financial IQ to where I'm like, okay, yeah, let's think about it as an investment. I spend $160,000 on my degree, and I got to go against how many people in the industry, and just looking at the risk factor in that, it always like, yeah, no, it's cool and it works, but there's a risk like it is in everything else, and what happens in that space. And I think a lot of times that I think people ask me all the time, like, how am I so good with working with the kids? It's not me, bro. It's just working in a space of respect, of understanding, like, man, I can give you advice on off of what I went through and kind of some of the things I've seen, but I can't tell you how to move. I can tell you the consequences of your actions, but I know you're a kid and you're going to make these mistakes. And sometimes you have to touch that fire yourself before you even hear anything. So, but what I can tell you is that if you work in the space of your moral compass, and you work in the space of gratitude, and you show love and you're genuine, the right things will find your way. You may not ever find, you may not, I think some of the things that we forget today, bro, is that there are people on this earth, bro, who never figured out what that purpose was, but they were happy just giving a part of themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like giving love. Growing up in the community, we always had family where it was always an older person in the neighborhood where they would look out for a drug addict. They would look out for somebody who was homeless, or somebody family who didn't know how to food and things like that. And I think, whoa, you okay? Okay. Sorry, early morning, Tyler. We get back to it. I think we're losing the sense of community because of how diverse community is getting, right? But people are failing to realize that the same concepts still work in a diverse community. It's getting out here and knowing each other, and getting out here establishing programs for kids that don't have. Our kids are suffering, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, our kids don't have a lot of things to do. So when you don't have a lot of things to do that are constructive, you're only going to explore your curiosity. And the curiosity that the internet is giving these kids, bro, is you can't blame them from out here doing some of the stupid stuff they're doing because they're watching it. They're in the house. These kids having experience outside like we did. One major factor for that, COVID. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's been a huge pause in progress, like, and developmentally, and over a different demographic, right? And I think the most impacted was those school age kids during that time, because think about it, man. A lot of high school kids didn't get their prom. They didn't get to walk across the stage. A lot of the kids that were graduating from elementary school didn't really get to go into middle school until they were in 7th and 8th grade. So you think about the social impact that has on a middle school kid that's already feeling awkward, that's already insecure and things like that. So I think a lot of times when we put our perspective, our expectations on our kids and things like that, man, we ruin them. How you feel on that?
Yeah, no, man, 100%. My wife's a high school teacher, and she sees it all the time. And parents, I think, kind of vicariously living through their kids and sports. And her kids will come in on Monday morning, and she'll be like, "Hey, how was your weekend? What'd you guys do?" And they're like, "Oh, we had a tournament, or we had 3." They're not even enjoying it. but the parents are forcing them, and it's. We kind of made the conscious decision that we weren't gonna push our kids through sports. Listen, I want them to be athletic, and I want them to be able to work well with others, but I don't think sports is the only avenue for that. And both my kids play sports. They found something they like. They play flag football, actually.
Oh, nice.
And they love it. But it's nice because, listen, it's one day a week. You get the practice and the game in. It's in a really cool. It's actually at the excuse me. It's at the high school on a turf field under the lights, so it feels like you're on a big stage.
Yeah.
So it's cool that the kids get to experience that. But listen, at the end of the day, it's not that serious. I mean, we're not doing 3 practices a week, and we don't expect you to go pro or to get a scholarship. I mean, we want them to enjoy something athletic outside and not in front of a screen, and make friends through a team,
Yeah. I agree with you on that one. It's because sports may not be your thing. So I'm big on providing options. And like my youngest son, he likes to sing. You know what I mean? Like, so he's super talented. He's all the talent in the world, but the way he pays attention to singing, you could tell he just do football and things like that just to be out there socializing. You know what I mean? So it's just like no, it's just respecting it's just respecting their life because at the end of it, bro, I mean I watched a show years ago. It was years ago, bro. I don't even know how I watched this thing, man.
What was it?
It was the I'm trying to think of the name of it, bro. Where he was talking about the universe. I'm having a brain fart on his name as well. But he was pretty much talking about it. And he explained it in a way. It's a really popular show. It was back in the day. Carl Sagan was his name,
Hmm.
right? And but what he did was he brought attention to life, how the way we think, how minute it is, how minor it is, how superficial thinking that we have, right? When you get past the laws of nature, and we still have the same laws in our mind, and as humans, we've developed a space where we have the arrogance and the ego of human beings, not realizing we're tied to the same cycle as as nature. So when you look at it in that space, it's called the cosmos. That's what it was. One of the episodes of the cosmos what he did was he took a large view of the universe and he showed the little speck of where Earth was within these billions of stars. And when you see the comparison of how like we're small, like everything. When we look in the sky, bro, when from a different view, we look the same way to something else or to a different atmosphere, right? Or a different side of the universe. When you see how small Earth is, bro, when you think about the lifespans that we've had, think about in 150 years, bro, it don't matter. Our kids ain't gonna be here. Your kids, our grandkids, we all gonna be just a conversation piece, maybe. Our
If we're
rules
lucky.
might apply. You know what I mean? Like, so we can't put these. We can. I think we got away from coaching has allowed me to see that we got away from coaching as adults, and giving wisdom rather than judging. Right? Where when you see a kid mess up, somehow we forget the kid that we were and how much we didn't listen and how much mouth we had talking back and how much we challenged the rules and we rebelled. But when I think about who do we respect as kids, it was the people that they didn't. It wasn't they never corrected us. They corrected us, but they had our respect because we also felt their love. You know what I'm saying? So, hey man, hey Mr. Central says, I'm sorry, bro. You're right. I was being a jerk. You know what I'm saying? Like at that, I was just feeling it. I was being funny, but I understand how you were frustrated about that. And you're right. Let me just go ahead and see if I can move in a different way to keep that from happening because it is bigger than me. So when we present life in a different way and wisdom to these kids, they listen. But I think these kids have figured out that we don't have the answer. So when we come from a place of dictatorship with these kids, we lost respect for them already because they look at us like, man, hey, bro, I'm 12 and I know that. That ain't true. You know what I mean? So I think
No,
like
I think that's huge, man. I think actually that kind of ties into the whole imposter syndrome is instead of kind of fighting that feeling of insecurity and feeling like you don't belong. I think I've really embraced it because I think that helps keep you humble, and I think that's helps you on the coaching side relate to those kids because in the grand scheme of things, we don't know shit about shit. It's
yeah,
we're still figuring it out. I'll probably be trying to figure it out till the day I die,
yeah,
and I think that keeps you humble. Whereas for me, my fear with not having the imposter syndrome is you start getting overconfident and you start acting like that person you just described where you think you know everything, and I think that blinds you to the truth, right? That blinds you to things that you don't know. Things are changing all the time, and if you think you know something one day, that could very well change based on new knowledge or your experience with someone else. So I think that really ties into the imposter syndrome and being able to embrace that and knowing that you don't know everything. We're all
yeah,
still learning, whether you're 50 or 18.
yeah. I got if you I got a thought, man. When I say if you're doing it right, you'll never figure it out. You know what I mean? Like because you're not supposed to. Because you don't understand the impact of nobody understands the impact of what it is that you're doing or not doing until you're gone. They can't weigh it. There's no way you can gauge that until the person is gone. We could say that was a great thing and what he did, but you can't really you don't realize the impact until it's gone.
Until it's missing.
Until it's missing. So it's egotistical for us to try to figure out, what it is. I think one of the things that I had to do, man, was figure out how to, after I got sick, I had to figure out how to live, bro. Because the way that I've been taught, or the way that society taught us, it ain't a healthy way of living. And, it kind of blurred our definition of success. And I think with that did another ingredient into imposter syndrome is feeling the having the overwhelming sense to be successful, right? But the definition that we've been given over the past few decades is not really what success actually is. So I've been big on pushing in the space, man. Like, what does success look like to you, bro? If your life goal is to get out of here and backpack, travel the United States, the world, or the United States broke as hell, but you want to see something and you get a different type of return on your investment in that space or a payout, dog, like that's the definition of success. You gotta understand, you living in a world, bro, that what I've been blessed to see is that I've kind of been able to move in all spaces. So when you see that there's a super rich guy on one side, you're running the CEO, got the businesses and things and looks successful, it's something dull about him. He looks ashy. He looks like the life has been dragged out of him. But then you look on the other side and you see somebody so poor, grew up in a space where they didn't have anything, and you see what that values were, and you see the glow in their skin that they have. And you're just like, bro, what is that? You know what I'm saying? So it's I think that we're creating we have created a society of imposters, because we're all in a sense of chasing something that we're not meant for, in a space of attached to the money. You know what I mean? Like, if our main goal is to chase this so we can get rich, we are really missing out on our purpose, because you're doing it and you can do it, but the grind feels differently when you're doing it for different purposes versus when you're grinding for something that's connecting with your soul and your spirit. You know what I mean?
No, 100%, man. I think that's a false sale. It's money doesn't make you happy. It's you gotta find out what it is, and if it's giving back or building businesses and supporting people, or like you said, backpacking around the world, it's definitely not money. That's what all the headlines say. That's what people want to make you see. But you look at the people with the most things, and some of those people are miserable. So it's not, money definitely does not equal happiness. I think, for me, I was sold the same thing, man. I thought it was all about money and making money and making more and more money, but it's kind of like a drug. You can never get enough of it. When you make one exit, you're like, all right, the next one has to be bigger. The next one has to be bigger. The next one has to be bigger. And at the end of the day, you can't buy time, right? You can't buy time with your kids and your family. And that was one of the things that I think about is I got to kind of see my parents work for big corporations. Like, my mom worked for Johns Hopkins for her whole life, and my dad worked and he finished at University of Maryland. Okay. And they put in decades at these institutions, and what did they get at the end?
It's like a pot of poop at the end of the rainbow. Like, you said, there's a pot of gold there, but now it's a risk, and what we actually thought we were working for may not be there for us. So you're right, bro. It's how did you get through? Like, when you noticed, like what did that look like? We're about to cut it down. My goal this year is to make sure we stick to no more than an hour and hour 45 minutes, an hour and a half, hour and 15 at most. 15 hour and 15 at most. The title gives us the grace to talk forever. I can't talk forever, but out of the respect for my co-host, we're gonna try to keep it to an hour and 15 minutes.
All good, man. All good. I'm yours.
But so, all right. So when you getting through pharmacy and pharmacy school, you were cool. But after you got into a space of transitioning from the in your businesses, you started to feel some of the imposter syndrome, right? Some of the little signs of it. When you started to feel that, did you know what it was, or somebody had to tell you? Like, how did you figure that out?
No, you know what? I don't know how I figured it out. When you kind of touched upon like men's mental health. One of the best things I did, I was going through a pretty tumultuous time towards the end of my career with the cannabis labs. We were going through 2 simultaneous lawsuits. I was trying to exit from the company. Obviously, that didn't go over well with my partners. I'm overseeing 4 locations through a global pandemic. It was a really stressful time, and um, actually, like, my wife and I got into a fight, and this kind of tells you like how competitive I am. We were in our typical like, no, you're crazy. No, you're crazy. I was like, all right, I'll show you I'm crazy. I'll go see a therapist. So, I started seeing someone, and man, they helped me walk through a lot of things, and process a lot of feelings that I think growing up as men, you don't you're told to kind of hold in and not show on the outside. And I do think that's changing. I think it's changing a lot.
Yeah,
But man, I think everyone should be seeing a therapist. I don't think there should be any stigma associated with it. Actually, one of my kids asked me one day, he's like, "Daddy, why are you going to see a therapist? Is something wrong with you?" And I was like, "No, nothing's wrong with me. I'm just like, I'm trying to be the best version of myself." And I don't even know how I thought about that.
yeah.
But man, he was like, "All right, that sounded good. I like that." At the end of the day, man, I'm just trying to be the best version of myself, and I don't care. I'll do anything to try to achieve that.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
I'll go see a therapist. I'll exercise more.
yeah,
I'll try to get more balance in my life between work and family. At the end of the day, I think we're all just trying to be the best version of ourselves.
yeah. Facts. Hey, I don't know what made me think of it. You get a bike, bro? You get a motorcycle? I think
I did, man. That's the one thing. Like when I exited from the cannabis labs, the one thing I did by myself is I got a motorcycle.
how's that going, bro? How's that going for you?
Well, it's been sitting and covered in the backyard for all winter, so I'm excited that the weather's getting nice. I get to take it out.
Nah, that's dope, man. I just wanted to mention that for a second. I think one of the things that you mentioned too, bro, was not being able to get the time back, and that money wasn't everything, and 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 that's your genuine space and how you felt, because I remember when you were making the transition from the labs to pickleball, that was one of the main things you said. Like, man, I've grind all these years, I've tried, I just want more. Enough is enough. I'm looking at my kids. They're getting older. When you said they were young, so I'm like, bro, that's a perfect timing for the decision that you made, man, because that was big, not just for you, but for your entire family. And it was in the space of, you made a decision for peace of mind. And I know it was hard, but you really acted in a space of faith, because you didn't know how they were going to go after. You were kind of in a space where I'm gonna take some time off, I'm gonna take some months off. My wife and I are going to travel, and then when we get back, then I'll give it some thought. And that space right there, when you said that, bro, it let me know how far you were in your therapy, right? It let me know how far you are in your process of life, and the way and the maturity that came with the way you process with life. Because now you're in the phase of like, yeah, I want the money, I can get the money, I've made the money, and I can do it again. Let me just put all this stuff that's coming from this rat race that we get, all the energy. Wait. Let me just pause it and do that in a space where you weren't afraid that life was going to collapse in on you, and figured out you still had time. I still had time to figure it out. So when you did that, just stepping back for a moment allowed you to walk into I feel like it allowed you to walk into the pickleball space, man, with, although you had a little bit of the imposter syndrome, that being able to take a step back and let some things go allowed you to carry new adversity and handle those differently in the space. How you feel about that, dude?
Yeah, it's a kind of touching upon the first thing that you mentioned. I didn't want that. Like, I knew the money was going to make me miserable. When I told my business partners in the cannabis labs that I wanted to leave, they're like, "Listen, man, we're hitting our stride. We had a 8-figure valuation." He's like, "Let's double it." I'm like, "I don't know, man. That doesn't sound good to me." I was the one handling all the operations. I was like, "Man, doubling the money sounds great, but doubling all the shit that I have to deal with on a day-to-day sounds miserable, and no amount of money is going to make that less miserable." So I was like, "Listen, that's I knew it was going to be a difficult decision, because I was the one handling all the operations, and there really wasn't a clear successor, but I had to do it, man. I was so drained and mentally burnt. We were coming to the culmination of these lawsuits, coming to a settlement. I was just like, I need a reset. I wanted to, like you said, I needed to take time off, figure out what I wanted to do. And I didn't go out, I didn't go out and buy a bunch of stupid ass material shit because I knew that wasn't gonna make me happy. Like I bought a motorcycle, but that for you're bang for your buck for how fast, speed to dollar ratio.
I got you. That makes sense, bro. That makes sense, man. I think that I mean like I told, like I had Reddy on here. Reddy was the last person that I had on here,
Who was it?
and Reddy, remember,
Oh, the
Reddy,
pharmacist.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
the
pharmacist,
pharmacist.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he was talking about some of the things that his story is crazy, bro. Like I think we all knew how Reddy grinded, how his grind was, and his work ethic. So for him to kind of reach the space that he got to, man, where he accomplished his dreams, and have it taken away and snatched away that it was like, man, like I'm glad to see him on the other side of it was too his battle as well. That was a oh, you gotta check it out, man. It's on YouTube. But he lost, I think, $80 million, $70 million overnight on a charge that wasn't even real. It was falsified charges, and it was a lot of things to do with racism and discrimination. So, and then it was proved to be that way. It was proven to be that's what it was. So to see, I mean, he talked about how he got to a place where he tried to commit suicide, and just off of all that. So when you see, when you hear the stories, man, when I first started this, I was like, how am I going, like, what story am I going to tell? Like, I don't want to tell my story over and over and over again. My story, no matter what, even though I'm starting to realize it's an actual story now, all stories get old. And I want to really make an impact. How can I make an impact in this space with stories? And just, hey, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm not trying to say it's going to work for you, but I want to show you that you ain't the only one trying to figure this thing out. And there are different ways to it. So some of the people I have on here, man, they went to a therapist. Some of them they haven't, but they found their own productive way to kind of get through their adversity. Do you remember how you were able to push through the adversity when you started to feel the impact? Because I'm sure now you don't feel the same way you did when you first started it. How did you push through to get to a space, or do you still feel the same way? But how did you push through to get to a space of consistency and function that was productive?
I think it's a lot of trial and error. Like when I was towards the end of the cannabis venture, the tool that I was using was alcohol. I was coming home and having a bourbon every night just to transition from that kind of shutting off work and being able to be at home without having work in the back of my mind all the time, and kind of realized that that wasn't the right tool to be using. So then you're trying something else, right? You're trying exercise, and landed on therapy, and now it's like therapy, exercise, and not being in that industry at all. So I think it's constant trial and error, and everyone needs to find their own combination of what works and what doesn't. But a lot of times it's tricky because something that seems like it works, like alcohol, doesn't actually work in the end. It actually makes things worse. At least for me, it seemed like it was working because I was able to disconnect from work, but then I was sleeping like shit, and I didn't have the energy to deal with all the things I had to deal with. And then it's like a vicious cycle. Then I'm drinking at the end of the night because I can't deal with it.
Yeah, that's facts, bro. That's real. Well, what I think within the show, it's been a minute since I did it, but I know, and I'm trying to look at my script. I hate scripts, so it's in it's in the space where, like, moment within the space. What do you mind speaking on? If you don't mind, what was your low? Why?
Oh man, I think the low for me actually was a little bit before my exit. The hardest part for me in the lab was we were working on our second lab. So we had Maryland. I just opened Pennsylvania. We had opened Pennsylvania in February, and we had a full staff. We hit the ground running. We were super busy, and I had like 90% of the staff walk out on July 4th weekend. It was like the first vacation after that I took a 3-day weekend with the family. We were down in Virginia, and it was the first vacation I took since had started building these things out, and the staff walked out on me.
What?
Yeah, man, it was tough because we were very, very busy, and so I had to walk in and clean up while keep the train going, because we were definitely humming at that point. So that was the hard part. We had to rebuild that. I was still overseeing Maryland. We were working on getting Florida up and running. So that was difficult. And I think piggybacked on top of that was just all the growth that we experienced. Then we hit COVID. Then we were going through 2 lawsuits. So that whole experience was it was a lot, man. It was overwhelming. But you make it through, and then you step back and you digest everything and try to think about all the lessons that you learned and what not to do again. And I think it helped me to avoid landmines in this one, right?
Yeah.
So in this new venture, I had to go out and raise money because I thought I was going to get a loan that got denied at the last minute. And one of the first people I talked to was going to invest the entire amount that I needed. And I started talking to this guy, and it sounded great. I'm like, all right, we'll be able to get this thing off the ground. He's going to invest everything I need. It's just going to be one investor. And you start talking to him, and they're just red flags. And one of the things that I learned through the cannabis venture is just don't ignore the red flags. And you know what? I passed on him. He started talking that, his wife would come in and work for free. And it was just, things I didn't want, He kind of acted like he had all the answers and knew everything. And to me, that's always a red flag.
Yeah.
And so, I passed up on him, man. And I think I've avoided a landmine. I have a great group of investors, and things are going well. I think it would have been a different narrative if I didn't ignore the red flag,
Mm-hmm. No, I got you, bro. I thought now that I got you on that one. That makes sense. With so your high. What's your high? What's the high? Yeah.
I don't know, man. You know what? The high is like, I try to do this gratitude thing every day. And so it's different every day. It's being grateful for having the flexibility that I have. It's a lot of work, but at the end of the day, I dictate how much I do and how much I don't do. I have no boss. My only boss is me. So, unfortunately, if things go bad, they fall on me, but I'm okay with that because I get to I do get a little bit of freedom in setting my own schedule and being able to spend more time with the family. That's, your kids are only 10 and 8 once, they're only 11 and 9 once. You don't get that time back.
Yeah, absolutely. If looking back, bro, like to your kids, your younger self, somebody younger generation, this is a 2-part question. The first one will be, ma'am, I'm on a stream. You want to come here?
She wants to be on cam.
You want to say good morning? Say good morning. Say good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, what is that? Bye. You're off camera already. Please go ahead, dude. Yes. I thought doing so. You're something that you wouldn't tell. First question is, if you could say something as a man, right? If you could say something to your family about in one sentence about the adversities and about life, what would you say? It could be a struggle. It can be something you pursue, you're pushing through. It can be something as far as something they don't know, like it's I struggle. It's an example. I struggle, but it's easy because I have you or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, or just some insight.
Oh man, I don't know. That's a tough one. I think for at least for my kids, I think about a lot. What I want out of them as they become adults, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the best thing I can think of is I'll be happy if they just put in more than they take out. It's leave things better than you found them, and put in more than you take out of the system of life, right? Your community, work, everything. Put in more than you take out. And hopefully at the end of the day, they know I love them, and everything I did was to hopefully provide them with a good foundation.
That's why you my guy, bro. I love that answer.
You put me on the spot there. I'm just sweating over here.
I got you. Look, it's not organic if it ain't, and that's the part that people relate to, because what you just said was real, bro. You know what I mean? Like that was, and that had a lot of value in that, and just in the same with just the small part of that stuck with me is put in more than you take out, and make the next situation better. So I think that nah, man, like I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate you hopping on. I appreciate our friendship, dog. Like it's funny because I don't even understand it, bro. Like I've always had, it's just like, bro, hey, one day we just reconnected again, bro. We gotta get to lunch, and you're like one of the only people out of the hundreds of people that I followed through on those conversations with to make sure that we made that happen. Not out of feeling any type of way, but it's that connection, bro, where I've always respected how you move. I remember when you were going through pharmacy school. I remember when you graduated, and some of the things we should talk about back then were always in the realms of business or investing. And we were young, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, it's when you find those connections, man, like you kind of appreciate it. So you've been encouraging to me throughout my entire process from the pharmacy tech program to, trying to figure things out, to even get in this space, man. And you've always been solid, always giving sound advice, bro, and never judged. I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying?
No, the feeling, I was going to say, man, the feelings are mutual, and you showed a lot of congratulations towards me, dude. Congratulations to you. I'm glad you brought up Part, because I remember talking about Part way back in the day, and I'm proud of you, and I'm happy for you for everything that you've accomplished with this podcast. Is awesome, and everything you're doing. I love the Coach Dev Instagram feed, man. I love seeing that. The world needs more people like you, like that.
Oh,
people like you, to me, are what's going to change, right? Like you talked a couple of times about how our communities are just getting torn apart. There's lack of leadership in this country is scary, man. And it's people like you that are going to bring people together and make the place a better world, man. So keep up what you're doing. Thank you for everything.
Man, I appreciate you. Hey, I don't know if you like it or not, but I'm gonna keep calling you Timbo, man. I appreciate everything, dog. Hey, man, enjoy the rest of your day with your family, man. I know it was super early, man. I thank you for making time to hop on this. Right? It was big.
Of course, man. Happy for the opportunity. Thank you.
Anything you want to say, leaving out?
Nah, man. Thank you so much. Have fun with your family, and congrats on everything you've accomplished, man. Keep on going.
All right, Timbo. Thanks a lot, man. Same to you, big dog, man. I'll holler at you, man.
All right. See you, dude.
All right, later. All right, family. Hey, guys, thank you for joining tonight. This morning was an earlier show. I'll go ahead and chop the video up, man, and put it on Instagram, so those that didn't catch it can get a chance to catch it. I also repost it on Facebook. I'll see you guys later next week. I think I'm going to start my youth series next week. Next Sunday with my one of my mentees and one of my little homies, like a headache son, little brother, Ishmael. I'll have him on for conversation. And hey, man, I'll see y'all then. Have a good week.